reception to Veilguard was kind of a bit...
I know. I feel absolutely devastated for BioWare as a studio that they got such mixed reactions to the game. I personally thought it was a really strong game. I thought that it was just BioWare kind of being more BioWare.
All right, so there was a recent interview with Alex Wilton-Regan, if I pronounced that name correctly, and she is a voice actress from Dragon Age the Veilguard, who also did voice acting in several other games, including some of the previous Dragon Age games. So the headline does start off by saying, Dragon Age the Veilguard star, absolutely devastated over backlash, says people wanted to see BioWare fail. Now, I'm gonna touch on that here in a minute, but let me just go through a couple of like key things that were also said during the interview. And it says, Dragon Age star Alex Wilton-Regan has given her personal response to the backlash faced by last year's Dragon Age the Veilguard and blamed the mixed reactions on people who wanted to see the game fail or wanted to see BioWare fail. First of all, I just want to point out something. Nobody wanted to see a Dragon Age game fail, because what we got wasn't Dragon Age in the first place. It was a mixed match of, let's just say, bullshit, and it didn't resemble anything close to what the Dragon Age series used to be. So in my mind, no Dragon Age game failed. This is coming from someone who played the original, including the second game and Inquisition. And the point being that I'm trying to make with that is, if these companies would just listen more to the fan base instead of fighting with them all the time, which is something I see constantly every day on the internet, maybe they could have actually made a legitimate Dragon Age game, but I digress. The actor who plays the female Inquisitor in both Dragon Age Inquisition and Dragon Age the Veilguard told IGN that she was absolutely devastated to see BioWare's latest game fail to find a larger audience, despite mostly positive review scores from critics. First of all, of course it's going to get positive reviews from the critics as opposed to what the actual players are going to give it. My consensus is, based off what I saw from a lot of independent YouTubers and people talking about the game, including people I know personally who tried out the game, nobody I knew liked it at all. To them, it was not a Dragon Age game. And it goes back to what I said previously. But speaking during a new interview discussing her many iconic video game characters to date, as well as her role in Microsoft's upcoming project, Perfect Dark Reboot, which I'm going to hold off on my judgment of that game until I see more of it, but what I'm seeing isn't so good. Inquisitor, though, did not believe the character would now return. I felt absolutely devastated for BioWare as a studio that they got such mixed reactions to the game, Wilton-Regan said of the response to Veilguard. I personally thought it was a really strong game. I thought it was just BioWare being more BioWare. No, they couldn't be any less BioWare of a game, in my opinion. I also think a lot of people kind of wanted to see it fail or wanted to see BioWare fail, either because they were just really bad people on the internet, of which there are ultimately many. Okay, I can't argue with that part of it, as far as like the bad people on the internet. Here, I don't think people want to see BioWare fail. People want to see them make better games. I think that's what we've been clamoring for a long time. But if they're going to refuse to give us those games, then we don't want to see them flood the market with crap. That's where we're at with this. At launch, the Veilguard was review bombed online. I didn't see anything about that. I guess I'd have to go back and look, but I didn't see any review bombing. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I didn't see anything about that. The Veilguard now sits with a mixed player response with user-defined tags for the game describing it under LGBTQ+ and politics labels. People were attacking the game before it was released, Wilton-Regan continued. It's ridiculous how you can judge a game, a book, a film, a TV show before it's actually released. You can't, and it's an idiotic stance to take. All right, let me comment on that real quick. So I'm going to say she's half right, but she's half wrong. Trailers are out there to give you kind of that first impression. You can look at a trailer and kind of come to some idea in your mind of whether that's going to be for you as the target audience or not. So when I see a game trailer, I can look at that and go, yeah, I don't think that's quite up my alley. Now, unlike most people, I do try to reserve some judgment until I see the full game in action. But I still stand by that. That's the whole purpose of a trailer, is to let the people know, potential buyers know, if this is something that they're going to want. So in a lot of ways, she is wrong, because yes, you can use that as some basis of judgment. It's just that some people like to wait and see the full product. Like when I see a movie trailer, I can get a pretty good idea if I'm going to like the movie or not. Let's see here. It also does say, in January, publisher EA said Dragon Age the Veilguard had underperformed versus its expectations by around 50%, just days after the game director, Corny Bush, confirmed she was leaving the company. Meanwhile, other BioWare staff who worked on the game were laid off. In the same month, BioWare signals it had released the final update for Dragon Age the Veilguard, which no further content announced or is expected. All right, I'm going to link the full article into the description below, but I just want to make a couple of last key points. This all comes back to one key element. Listen to your fan base and stop fighting with them online. I see that way too often, and it's completely unprofessional and it's completely unnecessary. It's like the people they're putting in charge of these projects are just nothing but children. That's what they do. They act like children. Someone has a different opinion than them, and then the other person lashes out at them. And then maybe, just maybe, here's a thought, constructive discussion where someone goes online and says, I don't like what you're doing with this game. Maybe that person, instead of lashing out at them and calling them all kinds of buzzwords, could say, you know what, we'll take your feedback into consideration. Now, whether they're going to actually do it or not could remain to be seen. Maybe they wouldn't have any intentions of listening to that one person's feedback, but wouldn't it be better to just respond in a more professional manner and say, hey, we'll take your feedback into consideration and move on? No, instead, what I see a lot, especially when it comes to X, is a lot of bickering and fighting between customer base, and games journalists chiming in on the same thing, and they're all fighting each other, calling each other buzzwords. And then at the end of the day, the customers are like, well, I guess I'm not going to buy the game because the people in charge don't care about my opinion anyway. They don't care about delivering me a good product that would be interesting to me, so why should I care? That seems to be what I see the most a lot when it comes to other people that I've talked to online or other interactions that I've seen with potential customers. It sucks because I love the Dragon Age series. I really do. But this last game just didn't even have the Dragon Age DNA. Sure, it had the skin of Dragon Age, but it didn't have the DNA. It didn't have the core elements that made Dragon Age what it was. And this is the reason why games like Baldur's Gate did so much better. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. That's all I got for this video. And if you did enjoy, please consider a like and a subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.